Hi, we are about to talk about the component of the theatrical design contest, which is marketing. Um, you've probably already watched the previous segment and determined where your strengths and interests may lie. And so we're going to talk this afternoon about, or for you, it may be this morning. For me, it's this afternoon. How to approach the marketing project if that's what you are most interested in doing. So we're going to start with first things first. Get a copy of your script and read it cover to cover. I was able to find inexpensive copies of these on Amazon from used booksellers. This is the modern artwork, and this is from several years ago artwork, but same script inside. So if all you can find is this, it's still the same story. So go ahead and make sure that you get a copy of the script to read. Next step, make sure you read the handbook on the UIL website. So go to Academics, Theater and Film, Theatrical Design, and make sure that you read the handbook and make sure you understand what is going to be expected of you as far as this component of the theatrical design contest. Next step is dig into the prompt. Look at exactly what components are required of you so that as you begin this process, you've got clear in your mind all the different things that you're going to need to accomplish. Next step, there are some teachers that do not encourage their students to complete an inspiration board first. I ask my students to do their inspiration board first and get a clear idea in their mind of where they're going artistically so that they can see shapes, colors, images in their minds that they want to bring forward that are helping to accomplish this idea that they have artistically. I'm also encouraging everyone this year to do some, if you don't have an art background, which I don't have an art background, I encourage my students to, and some of this is in the handbook, but study some art terminology so that you can be a little bit more well-versed when you begin to justify your choices. You need to be able to say more than, I liked it. You need to be able to talk about why you liked it and why that particular piece of art that shows Don Quixote, Man of La Mancha, how that particular piece of artwork spoke to you in relationship to the script. What about that style was appealing to you and why you felt like it particularly brought to life the image, the ideas, the themes of the script to you. You need to be able to talk about that, and that's super, super important, especially when you're dealing with marketing and trying to grab an audience's attention and let them know kind of how this company is going to be approaching this script and what they're going to expect to see when they come into the theater, grab their attention, captivate them, get them excited about this beautiful world that they're going to come and enjoy. Again, I've encouraged my students to find pieces of artwork that appeal to them once they read the script and they start searching. Why does it jump out at you? Why do you like it? How do you think it links up to the script? And then I've encouraged them to stylistically try to kind of stay looking for art that is that same style. When I wasn't sure about what style it was, I have called on my friends with more art background than I have, and we've made sure that we're picking things that are consistent and in the same style. And then my students have done a little bit of research, made sure that they could talk about the artists that worked in that style, what was going on in the world at the time that this style was or is popular, and why they feel like this style encompasses the themes and the ideas and the characters and the world of the script. So real clear ideas of why you like that artwork and why you felt like it linked up to the script. I have an inspiration board that's in the process of being completed for this year's contest, and this student picked a particular style of art that appealed to her. She's a marketer, and she's going to move forward, and she's going to allow this style, and not all of these are of Man of La Mancha. Some of these are other works of art in the same style, but this particular style appealed to her, and she's going to use it to drive her designs going forward. Another thing that wise, talented teachers have taught me over the years is to look at other marketing materials like movie posters, magazine covers. Those visual images are designed to grab your attention, pull you in, get you interested, make you stop and read the information. And that's what our goal is in the marketing contest, is to get information across to our prospective audiences, or at the point that they are in our theaters, to communicate a lot of information with them so that they can get the most out of the performance possible. Marketing also has that organizational side to it, and making sure that you've thought through all of the aspects of production. So it's a pretty complicated project with a lot of different steps. Okay, a lot of this is just getting in the computer and thinking about what's involved in production. And some of that is just sitting down and talking about and thinking about a calendar, a marketing calendar. This one is ready to be displayed. They don't have to be ready for display when you submit for round one. But bringing some unique style. This was from a couple years ago, where she had decided to use images from Norway, and even spelled things, use the way that they would have been spelled. She brought that in. She brought fonts in just to keep that consistency, that style through every part of the marketing contest, even though your calendar doesn't necessarily have to be a work of art. She just made sure, she splattered the colors of the Norwegian flag throughout and incorporated some Norwegian patterns throughout the calendar, and was consistent with her font as well, which she drew by hand. So this is just an example of how to display the calendar. It's a calendar, but if there's ways that you can make sure that you're incorporating that imagery that you've decided to use, or that style in your calendar, that just creates unity throughout your project. Again, she did a lot of her design by hand, and here is an example of her program. And again, she incorporated the art throughout. And we've got this turned inside out. Whoops. Make sure that your style is consistent. And I've always told my students never to leave a blank page. There's always room to talk about and include information about your theater company, about your students, about other productions, about where to get more information. It doesn't have to be crazy, crazy complicated. It doesn't have to be one of those fancy playbills, as long as all of the information that's required of you by this year's design prompt is included. It's neat, it's clear, it's all there, and it's got a unique design, then it's going to fulfill the requirements of the contest and serve you well. Those can be done digitally. They can be done by hand. The biggest thing I can tell you is make sure that you're neat. I definitely encourage my students to word process those programs and make them super duper neat, concise, clean and clear, and easily read. One thing that you need to think about when you're doing marketing is make sure that people can read the font quickly and easily, and that all the information that's necessary is easily read and included. Here is a poster that my students did that kind of morphs both the worlds of hand drawing and word processing in a fun little program called Clip Studio. And I'm gonna turn my camera over here to my computer. I don't know if you can see that well. Probably not. But Clip Studio is right here. It is not super expensive. It is about $200 to buy one license. I think we got a 4-pack of licenses, and that allowed us to put it on 4 computers. One of the cool things about Clip Studio is my students were able to draw this image. So this student was able to draw this image of how she saw this character, and then was able to manipulate the background. All of this was done in Clip Studio, and then able to type the relevant information for the promotional poster, create this all in one place. Clip Studio is really cool that way. I'm going to tell you the same thing I told my set designers. A lot of times my students figure out how to run these programs. They let me know what they need, and I get them, and then they YouTube it. They teach one another. They figure it out, because I don't have all the answers, but they know a way to figure it out. Another thing that you need with Clip Studio, if you're going to be doing the renderings, are digital drawing tablets. These are Wacom digital drawing tablets. They're mid-range, around $100 or so a piece, and they work great with Clip Studio and import nicely, and they are useful for my costume designers have rendered costumes on them. Of course, my marketers have rendered on them, and my animation students use those for traditional animation to do their animation renderings. So this was created on Clip Studio. They rendered it, the student rendered it, and then dropped the images in different layers and created a poster. Right now in a lot of schools there's Adobe, so you can do a lot of this in Adobe Premiere and Photoshop as well. I know there are some schools that will actually take pictures of their actors, and that's what we normally do for our musicals, is we'll put our actors in costume and makeup and take pictures, because it's more fun to see this actual students who'll be doing the performing, and then we'll do a lot of that work in Photoshop and create our posters through Photoshop. So I've got those, I've got those programs also loaded on these computers. And again, my students are more literate in that software than I am. And in their business classes, they're actually learning how to use those. So that is an option. I mean, we've even worked in Word before, and this is an older example, and my student had a real clear idea of what she wanted to do. This was a marketing poster from several years ago, and it was, she received some criticism because she used just a lot of clip art. So in the future, we've kind of looked at clip art ideas, but from that point forward, we made more of an effort to create our own artwork rather than just pulling little clip art items down offline. I definitely encourage you to come up with your own designs. This was the marketing poster, and one of the things that this student received as constructive criticism was this was beautiful and all of the information she needed, but her font was a little bit wonky, because she was another student that received don't use so much clip art stuff. So she decided, okay, I'm going 100% the other direction, and I'm going to design everything myself by hand. Where they would have liked to have seen just a little bit more professionalism in some of her fonts. So that's something that we learned. Make sure that things are easy to read, that they're clear, and that you are including all of the proper information, including, you know, your venue, your times, where you can buy tickets. A lot of times, this is such a big project that some of those little details can get overlooked. You just need to make sure that you want to get people in the right place with all the right information, and then with this particular contest, making sure that their programs are visually interesting, that they include all the right information, and that they enhance the theater goer's overall experience. Here is a poster that was done completely in Photoshop, and the balance was a little off. This needed to be moved a little bit lower, but they altered their artwork and dropped it in there and made sure that it was clear and concise. And this was part of that group that did the Zodiac. So there's lots of different ways to approach it, but make sure that what you're thinking is clear and you're consistent, especially if you're working in a group. Make sure that your group is consistent and that everybody is approaching that stylistically in a similar way. Here is an example, and a lot of times my students will design the artwork for the poster and then run that through in the program as well, just to be consistent. In years gone by, we did different artwork for our poster and then different artwork for our program, and we actually goofed up and we went in between the Greek and the Romans and didn't even realize we'd done that, so we goofed up time-wise and style-wise, and so we try to make really certain that we're consistent across the boards, especially in group design, or when you have a project that has so many different components, like marketing, run those same style ideas through all of your work. Another thing that is part of it this year is your study guide. Remember, if it would bore you, it's going to be boring. So I always encourage my students to put in their study guide things that interest them. So if you're going to include biographical information, what's a fun, interesting way for the students to find that biographical information? Crosswords, there's crossword makers. Those are easy and fun. Word searches, those are easy and fun ways to present new vocabulary. Anything that's going to help a high school student come into this story and get it better. The more that they can sit and work through that study guide in advance and have a better understanding of the author, the time that the author lived, the world that the author lived in, helps the student better understand the story that they're about to see. There's lots of really cool things about the Spanish Golden Age and the time that this story was written that is really interesting for students. So there's a wide variety of ways to approach it, but make it simple and fun. None of you want to sit down and read a 5-page study guide that's full of just paragraphs of stuff. Find fun, interesting, cool visual ways for the students to look at that information. And then make sure that you pull your artwork, pull that through, and include it even in your study guide. Last year we had a student who had just done some sketches in our group, and we were able to take those little rough sketches of costume designs, scan them, and we dropped them into the study guide because they were working in group. So they were able to collaborate some. When you're individual, you can't collaborate like that, but your group can. And we were able to drop some of her just rough sketches in and put them in the study guide because that helped bring the concept across and through all of the elements of the design project, which when you're working in group, that's very important that you guys are on the same page and that you make sure that it looks like one project that you all worked on rather than 4 people that just threw something together that everybody was working individually and didn't collaborate and think about and make sure that stylistically you were consistent. That's a note I've gotten before. I've just tried to learn from every single student's project, and I store away what we can do better, and I store away what over the years students have done well, and I try to share the criticism with incoming students so that they can learn from what was done well and what could have been done better. Marketing, again, keep it interesting, keep it concise. Do some of your research. Look at magazine covers, look at website pages, and make sure that you have not too much going on. That's the biggest thing. Make sure that you have an image that captures people's imagination and attention, and don't junk it up. You need to be able to glance at it, and this is one of my tests I have my marketers do. Glance at it. Do you get the majority of the information you need? Does it attract your eye? Is it interesting to you? And I'll sometimes have other students in the class look at their initial artwork and ask that same question. Does it catch your attention? Can you read it? Is it clear? Do we need to change the font? Do we need to change the size? Do we need to change the colors? Because they'll be honest with you. They'll let you know, yeah, oh, I can't read this. It's too small, it's too big, it's too light, it's too dark. Things like that matter when you're trying to get information across. Years ago, one of our judges said, think about it driving by on a bus. Would you get all the information in the 3 or 4 seconds that you had while that thing passed by you on a bus in New York City? Which is a great way to think about it. I hope this has been helpful. My email is kfryman, F-R-Y like you fry food, M-A-N like a man, kfryman at meisd.org. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, send you any samples, try to help you in any way that I can to approach this contest. Marketers, stay focused. Stay on top of getting all of, you have a lot of things to balance. You have the business end of things and the scheduling end of things. Be sure you have thought about all the things that go into getting a production off the ground. Be sure you think about ways to incorporate technology, social media into your marketing plans and into your posters, your programs. This year and last year we did paperless programs, and this year it might be something very relevant. Now we're all learning how to scan even restaurant menus when we go out to eat. So you may want to consider options like that to save. Last year it was to be more environmentally sound. This year it may be just to be more sanitary, more safe, and more environmentally sound, so that there's less waste and less handling of printed materials in the theater space. Again, incorporating social media into promotion of your show, something important to consider. And just do your homework on what is visually appealing when you're trying to get information across to people. Again, I would love to answer any of your questions, be of any help, and give you any advice that you may need. Best of luck as you enter into the design process, and enjoy being creative. Best of luck.